Hi everyone, welcome to an episode of Audi Outdoors. Today I want to make a video to kind of correct some information I gave last year about the Bülk Mark 1. And one of the things that I shared last year was the amount of pressure I run in my rear air bellow. So one thing that Bellow World has recently released is pressure recommendations for the rear air bellow. So last year I didn't have any guidance, so I kind of just went up and then back down to where it felt comfortable, where I had some suspension travel. And I kind of settled on that. I haven't really had any problems with it in the past 2,000 miles. And the pressure I settled on was about 7 PSI. Well, right now, Bellow World is recommending a minimum of 5 bar, which is about 72.5 PSI. So we're gonna go ahead today and we're gonna check for damage, and I'm gonna check the air pressure, and then I'm gonna sit in it so you can see the kind of sag it has, if any, and then I'm gonna add the recommended air pressure and see if it has any sag. So first things first, let's go ahead and check for damage. So they said it puts a lot of stress on the carbon components in here, cause cracking, so I'm feeling around, looking. I don't see any white lines, I don't see any cracks or anything around the air shock, around the air bellow. So I think we're going to be good for the damage part of it. So now I'm going to go ahead and connect the shock pump. Now this is how I measure my pressure, is with either analog shock pump, or for more precise measurements I use a digital one. This is the RockShox high pressure digital shock pump. I bought this for my Cannondale, where it had to be really specific, like 1 or 2 PSI could really make a big difference on Cannondales. Right now the battery's dead in this since last year, so I'm going to be using the analog Cannondale shock pump. And the reason why you want to use a shock pump specifically is because these valves contain a double valve in here, so they don't let any air out when you're connecting, and they don't let any air out when you're disconnecting. So it maintains your pressure that you put in there. So I'm gonna go ahead and take a measurement with the analog pump. Now last time I did use the digital pump to fill this up because it had to be below 10 PSI, and this digital pump, or the analog pump, only does increments of about 10 PSI. So I'm gonna go ahead and screw this on. Now you should see 2 bumps in the pressure gauge, 1 bump and then 2 bumps as you tighten it. All right, so let's go ahead and check the pressure. All right, so it looks like it's between 0 and 10 PSI, which is about where I set it at. So now we confirm the pressure. I'm gonna go ahead and disconnect this gauge, put my seat in. All right, so now I'm gonna go ahead and remove the seat and put in the recommended minimum pressure and see if there's any difference. All right, so here in this clip, you can see how much faster the 80 PSI rebounds compared to the 7 PSI. Now, I think this can cause a problem when going over rumble strips. Now, here's me getting into the Bellow, and you can see with my weight in there, the 7 PSI sits a lot lower than the 80 PSI, about an inch. It feels really stiff and rigid. I don't know how well that's gonna handle over like rumble strips and stuff like that. That's what I'm gonna test out later. I'm gonna go ahead and get back out. All right, so I just reviewed the footage of what I just captured between the 2 different pressures. And let me kind of just show you what I saw in the footage. So if we look down here, this went down to about here on the lower pressure, whereas it was more up about another probably ½ inch with the higher pressure. So I'm gonna go ahead and run the higher pressure and see how it goes on the first ride and go from there.